All right, welcome back, traders, to another week of the weekly Forexcast. All right, so I'm going to be covering some potential setups for this week. It's looking like a promising week. I see some really solid setups playing out. So right now, I want to start off with investing.com. Starting the week, I like to see exactly what's on the fundamental list. I am a technical trader. We trade based off technicals, based off what we see, but it's important to understand where the volume is coming from because fundamental events usually just push volume into the market. All right. So this is the first week of May, the first full week of May. So a trading week. So we see here May 4th, Tuesday, and that's actually my birthday. So Tuesday, we got the Australian dollar interest rate decision. All right, we got the rate statement for the Australian dollar. So that should bring some volume into all. But with this being the first week of May, we know this is NFP week. All right. So he's likely going to get some volume into the US dollar. All right. We got NZD employment change on Tuesday as well. Wednesday, we got non-farm employment change, crude oil. Non-farm employment change is showing signs of coming out stronger. All right. As well as Thursday, we got the interest rate for GBP, services PMI, composite PMI. So it's going to be a lot of volume, primarily with the USD, the GBP, and looks like Australian dollar and possibly even the NZD. All right. So now, if we look at Thursday, we got unemployment claims. All right. And then on Friday, it's NFP for the USD. All right. Which is non-farm employment. You got the unemployment rate and everything that comes out there, as well as the fundamentals for CAD. All right. So this is going to be a week that we likely going to see some volatility and some volume come in. So now what we do is we go to our charts and we identify what is price showing us. All right. Because the most important thing is price. All right. Price action is going to, things are usually already priced in going into any fundamental event. A lot of times the fundamentals just drive price. All right. Just drive it for more volatility. So if we see here, starting with the dollar index, the US dollar index, all right, price, the last couple weeks, we've seen price continue this down move. All right, continue this down move. Now, I said, if you've been following, I said if we broke below this structure level, it was likely that we're going to see more of a down move. So we got that down move. But I said we could likely either pull down to the support. Hold on 1 second. Oops. This kind of came in my way real quick. Sorry about that. So we likely going to see this come down to support, all right, or form a higher low. So if we look right here, I got this price formed this low, pumped up, formed a higher low, and had a big wave up. All right, so now it's pulling down, and I actually have this trend line drawn right here. So my trend line is like a zone. All right, it's not always about exact price, but I draw from wick to wick, and we have this zone here. So if we see here on the daily, price basically gave us a rejection right here. All right. So not only was a rejection, this is actually a morning star. This pattern right here on the daily, that's a morning star, bullish morning star pattern. All right. So it's showing me signs that bulls are in control, are likely going to be in control on the dollar. All right. Because even if I see, I have this counter trend line. You see, I got my counter trend line drawn from this peak up here. I got it drawn from this peak and I got it all the way extended down through my lower highs. So right here, price gave us a nice bullish impulse to end last week. All right. So I'm leaning towards buys on the dollar this week. We can likely see maybe some type of correction, but overall, as long as it holds below that morning star on the daily, I'm looking for the dollar to continue to give us some bullish moves to the upside. All right. This could potentially, if we get a nice move back up above this level, we could potentially see a move back up, towards that higher high within structure. All right. And then now I will go and I will look at currency pairs that's pretty much lined up and trade in line with the dollar index. Because if I'm looking at Euro USD, like I'm looking at it here, all right. So with Euro USD, I'm looking at the daily chart. And if you've been following me, we pretty much been on point with with EU for the last couple months, really. All right. So if we look at the daily, price made this peak high. All right. This is your high. This is your lower high. This was like a lower low within structure, but then price broke that, giving you a lower low. gave us the retest continuation. All right, forming another lower low there. So overall, in the daily, we're in a downtrend. All right. So price was just having a bigger correction up. We were just getting this bigger correction up, looking at the daily, to form likely possibly another lower high. All right. So you see, I had this trend line drawn from this peak high to this lower high wick, extending it out. Look what we got on the daily. We got a nice strong evening star reversal. That's a sign of a bearish reversal. Usually see it at the end of an uptrend or at the high of structure. All right. So this is at a key level of lower high rejection or trend line. So it's not a coincidence. I don't believe it's a coincidence that we see a nice strong bearish evening star reversal on EU and a nice bullish morning star reversal on a daily on the dollar. So that's, for me, that's correlating, showing me signs of what direction I'm leaning towards for my trade setup. Because keep in mind, if EU is dropping, that's going in line with the US dollar strength. All right. So that's how you factor in the index. All right. So I would look at it like this. This is how you can factor in our next potential setups. All right. You could draw this structure in as well, because I was looking for price to come, somewhere in here potentially before looking for that reversal. All right. So the trend line lined up with it roughly around that structure. Nice breakdown. So I will go down to like the 4-hour chart. All right. You see on the 4-hour, we got a nice impulsive breakout. Also breaking my trend line I have drawn here. All right. So if you look, it actually broke higher low structure, a sign of reversing. Price is likely reversing. So now what I would look for, I would look for some type of correction. All right. Let price correct. And on this correction, look for your continuation sales. All right. Your stop loss can be like somewhere above structure, maybe above that evening star on the daily. All right. Above that strong bearish candle. But overall, I would say, look for correction. Let price correct itself. Me personally, I'm actually already in the sale, and I held this over the weekend because I still like price to continue. So you could take something like this, take a counter trend line. All right. Let price correct itself, possibly around this structure here, possibly maybe a little higher. But overall, I'm looking for that to pull back to continue to the downside. All right. And looking at the daily, this can at least come back down to around 19.5, 19.6 support, but possibly this could give us a bigger wave down. All right, so be on the lookout for that. GBPJPY. So on our private Discord, we actually gave this out. I gave this out to end the week. We was able to catch about 85 pips on it. Overall, I still think we would get more downside on GJ, because if we look at this on the daily, we have a head and shoulders right here, right? Left shoulder, head. This is like a right shoulder right here. Price pulled up roughly around in this same structure where you had sell-off pressure before. 152.5 around there is like a psychological level. So it pulled up in here, started rejecting. Now look at the past daily candle that closed. We got a bearish engulfing here on the daily. That could be that's usually showing a sign that the sellers are in control. All right. So if we go down to the 4-hour chart, right, look what price did. Really, I was entering sales after seeing this nice shooting star rejection right here. All right. So on this pullback, we got that continuation move down. So this is how I'm looking at GJ. It's either we can look for sales on a continue. If we get a break of the structure, breaking that higher low, break of that structure, look for some type of pullback, maybe a retest, and continue down towards 150. All right, that could be a scenario. Or you can let price pull back first, give you a pullback, and then look for that continued sell opportunity. All right, maybe a pullback somewhere around here, just looking at structure. So maybe somewhere around here, around 151.7, somewhere around there could be a potential. All right, because if we look at this, it could be something like this. Price could pull back and just continue down. All right, so we have to be on the lookout for that, because I expect price to hold. I expect price to hold below that bearish engulfing candle, or at least definitely below this wick high, below 152.5. All right, so if we get some type of correction, that could be another opportunity for continued sales, or the continuation to break down and catch the pullbacks for continued sell. All right, so 150 will be my next target. If it breaks below that, we could see it come down to this support structure around 148.5. All right, so that's GJ. Overall sell bias I'm looking for this week. Now GU, looking at GU, we can see Similar to EU, this went in line with strong dollar to end the week. Looking at here on the daily, price gave a nice rejection from this resistant high, pulled down, retested this support structure, bounced up, pulling back towards this high, but then you had a strong sell-off. All right. So me, I was waiting for seeing some more action to look for my trade on this. So I wasn't trading this last week. But now that I see this strong impulsive move right here on the daily, big bearish engulfing, actually engulfing the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's engulfing the last 5 daily candles. That's like a whole trading week. So seeing that, that's definitely showing me that the sellers are in control here. Let's look at the weekly. All right, boom, look at the weekly. The weekly is actually showing a shooting star, a bearish shooting star on the weekly right here. So seeing this price action from the weekly to the daily, I already know where price is most likely headed. All right. So now it's about where do I take my trade? So with this, I would either, if I go down to like the 4-hour, so you can see structure here, I would either say let price continue down from here. If it continues breaking down, I would look for a pullback or a retest and then take this continuation down back towards support. Either that, or I would say let price correct a little more. If it pulls up a little higher, it can possibly do that before continuing to go. If that happens, it still will be a nice opportunity on this pullback higher, because with that big bearish engulfing candle on a daily and shooting star on a weekly, bearish shooting star, I'm leaning towards sales. So even if it pulls back first, you take your fib from this high to this low. Even if it pulls back around the 38 or the 50 or the 61.8, just let it correct. But overall, I'm expecting this to continue back down. All right. So my next levels will be, overall, we could at least come back down to the support around 1.367. All right. But if price was to come down here, all we're doing is we just following the waves of the market, and we just following structure. Because if price was to come down here to the support level and break it, all right, then that's a sign that we're going even lower. All right, a confirmed break below, not wicks, but confirmed closures below. It could possibly retest and then continue. All right, because looking at the daily, if price was to break that, all right, then on the pullback, it could come all the way back down to around 1.35, 1.36 support, or 1.358, around that range. All right. So that's GU. EURJPY. So EURJPY has been in the bullish uptrend. Looking at this in the daily, we see we clearly been in this uptrend, right? Clearly to the upside. So even on the daily, we see we got a higher high breaking above this high. We formed a higher high there. If we look at the weekly, price was making its way pretty much to this supply level. Even if you look at this here on the weekly, you see here on the weekly over here when price started this big downtrend, it formed this actual bearish evening star on the weekly, and then it had a big move to the downside. So price was likely pulling up higher before having a big move over. Similar. Now it's a matter of, is this the start of it, or is it just going to pull back down for one more move up before reversing? So this is how we'll play it on the daily. You see on the daily, see something. All right, because how I like to draw my supply at times, I like to find my base. All right, so this is like a range of my base before price rolled over. All right, so price could be potentially retesting that to continue to start the reversal. All right, but we don't know if the full reversal gonna happen just yet. So this is how you could play it. Looking at the daily, we got a bearish engulfing here, right? The daily gave us a bearish engulfing right here. All right, that could be a sign that it's about to set up for a sell in the coming days. All right, so if we look at the 4-hour, boom, price had a nice pin bar rejection and rolled over. All right, so this is how I would look at this. I believe we are going to get a sell before we get any more buys. So I believe price could pull back some here, but overall, I believe we're going to get a continued sell first. All right, it could be just retesting the high though, so you got to keep that in mind. So I could take this trend line here. You see price gave us a breakout. We had a nice break of that trend line, giving us impulse close. All right. So with it only being Sunday, I typically don't like to trade Sunday. But I believe that this is just setting up for a continued sell. So it might pull back. If it pull back some, that could be a good opportunity for you to catch a continuation down. because looking at the daily, this can at least come back to this structure. We're testing this structure high. All right, so roughly around 1.30.5 to 1.30.7, like somewhere in that range, I could see price coming down like here. All right. Now here we're going to get a break and bounce scenario. Once price makes its way down there, it could potentially hold support and give us one more move up into the deeper into the supply zone before giving us the bigger move down. All right, but the price came down here and not just retested this, but actually gave you a break of this structure level. Then from there, that can show that we're actually reversing. So in these pullbacks could be opportunities to continue down. All right, so keep that in mind. But to start this week, I'm looking for sales. Sales, I would say look for sales on EURJPY. All USD. If we're looking at all USD actually it's been changing within this big daily range. All right, so if we look at this, price got a head and shoulders right here, left shoulder. This is like a big right shoulder. All right, so it's still changing with trading within this range. You see right here. All right, so in order to look for sales here, especially if we get strong dollar, I'm leaning towards sales on all USD because that's going along with the strength of the dollar. And all look like it could be setting up for sales too. So let's say if for here, price we need to break this range. If we break this support of this range, then I like to look for a retest of that and then catch a continuation down. All right, so I would say wait for that break, retest, and continuation back down towards these support levels to the left. Always look left to go right. Gold. So looking at gold usually is going to trade in line or inverse of the dollar and trade in line with Euro USD. So we see overall gold came down to these support levels, had a big move up, but I believe it was setting up for a big move up towards these levels and looking to get us a move back down. So if the dollar starts to pump, all right, that will help gold dropping here. All right. Me personally, I was looking for maybe one more move up from here to this level of resistance or supply and then rejecting from there. All right, but price been ranging at this level it's at now. So it's a matter of if it want to hold here or if it want to break. I got this trend line drawn here. It did start to break down, pull it back, but it's ranging here. So for gold, I would need to see a break. So if price breaks this structure down, all right, then I would say on the pullbacks, look for continued sales. All right, but if it holds support here, you could see one more move up before then rolling over. Ncd Usd. So Ncd Usd, it's another major, trades in line with the dollar. All right. So if we look at this overall, we can see on a weekly, price respected this big supply level, had a big sell-off. Now this is just a correction of that for another potential continuation. That's what I see just based off price action. If we look at the weekly just formed. Look at this. This is a bearish shooting star. All right, on the weekly chart. All right. So then if we go to the daily, on the daily, look what we got. Same thing as EU. We got this bearish evening star on the daily. All right. That's a sign of a reversal. It's also roughly around this resistance level that it had sellers from before. Okay. So for me, that's a sign that price is likely setting up for a continued move down. All right. So if I go down to like the 4 hour, you can see price broke out of this channel right here, breaking this trend line in a way, slightly starting to break some higher low structure. All right. So with this, I would say on the pullback, it could slightly pull back. But on this pullback, any pullbacks, I believe will just be setting up for a continuation move down. All right, first level of structure for TP will be roughly around here, which is roughly around 1.70 support. All right. So we could likely pull back first and then continue down to the structure of support. All right. Now, if it break through that, we could come even lower back to this low it made, roughly around 0.695 support. All right. So that's what I'm leaning for with NU. Real simple. Either catch the pullback on the pullback and retest, look for your sales, or if it continues to just break down from here, breaking this structure, then catch your pullbacks from there and look to continue it down. right. So that's NU. All right, now let's look at GBP CAD. GBP CAD, it continued down really because we had a lot of Canadian dollar strength. And I'm not surprised because it really rejected from these major supply levels up here. We had big sell-offs. Price just repeats itself. All right, so it's headed back down to the bottom of this range. This is really a big range here on the weekly. This is a big range, and it's been just respecting it. All right, so you can literally trade within these big demand and supply and demand ranges. This last weekly candle is strong bearish close. All right, so there's no reason to look for buys on this as of now. All right, this could be setting up to come all the way back down to these support levels around 1.68 support. All right, so this is how we look at this. If this was to come back and give us a retest of this structure, you know, maybe one more retest up here. Retest up here could be setting up for that. You can look for a continuation on that retest. All right, or if it just continues to break down here, then you would need to catch the little dips or pullbacks for continuation to ride that wave down to 1.68 support. But once you get down there, you know, price can reverse. Once it comes down here and it shows bullish price action, it could be setting up for a bigger move up. USDJPY. All right, so UJ, looking at this on a weekly, price broke above this structure, supply, all right, formed a higher high, but then that was like a false breakout, printed this bearish engulfing on a weekly. The next 2 weeks after that was straight sales, all right? So look at the previous weekly candle that we just formed, bullish engulfing on a weekly. So what is that telling us? That's telling us that the buyers are in control. So if we look at the dollar, look how everything is lining up around NFP. Everything just on the charts. Like when I say things are already priced in from a technical perspective, you know, just saying that they don't manipulate price with news or nothing and everything just follows technicals and they just bring in more volume. So from a technical perspective, we can see that the dollar is setting up for buys. That's what it's showing across the board. All right. On most pairs, we see the dollar strength look like it's coming in. So we got the bullish engulfing on the weekly. So for me, that's showing me that, hey, we're likely going to continue up, but that's a bullish engulfing on the weekly. So we might get some pullback first, right? It's likely that we'll see some type of pullback first. So I got this counter trend line drawn on UJ, like roughly through this lower high, extended to the lower highs. So we had a nice boom. We had a nice breakout, right? Pulled back for a higher low, retest, continued. All right, so now we could possibly see, I would like to see UJ correct. All right, so I would say let UJ correct. Let it correct, let it pull back. All right, possibly correct back down towards this trend line. Because also, if we look at this on a daily chart, I have a trend line drawn here. I have an uptrend line, a ascending trend line drawn from this peak low to this higher low, extended up. So the third hit of the trend line tends to give you nice setups. So you see on this third hit, price basically gave you like these tweezer bottoms, these tweezer bottom pattern, formed bullish price action and pumped off the third hit of that trend line. All right. So now after that impulse, we look for a correction and then another impulse wave up. All right. We could see this come all the way back to this high. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, price pulled it back down to the structure level, actually lining up around this support level. All right. Lining up roughly around my trend line as well for the retest. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, it comes there and finds support. You could take a buy there, stop loss a few pips below. All right. Down below this level. And then your TPs could be back at the high there, this resistance to the left. That's about 230 pips, hypothetically speaking. All right, so hypothetically speaking, that's a way that I would look for this setup. All right, even if you put it below this level that it made, all right, on that retest, you still, the risk to reward is still worth it. All right, so keep that in mind. So I would say look for the correction, continuation on USDJPY. All right, now USD Cad. USD Cad kept dropping as well with CAD strength. Now we see where price is at. It's at a break and bounce level. It's roughly around this demand level. All right, where price had big buys. This is the lowest that UCAD has been since January, going into February 2018. All right, so it's been what, over 3 years, or about 3 years, actually. All right. So price is at a major demand level. So when you get around these levels, you start to look for bullish price action to form. All right. So I wouldn't look for buys here. Like right now, it looks like it's setting up for one more wave down. But I would need to see some type of impulsive rejection from this level. Then on the pullbacks, I would look for my buys. All right. So you can just see how the price react in the past when it was at this level. Let's see if I can. Okay, so in the past, looking at the daily chart, when price was here, boom, price gave you a nice bullish engulfing here. That was a sign that, hey, the buyers are in control. Looking to the left, when you see the higher the time frame, you see these candlestick patterns on, the more value it has. Bullish engulfing, sign of buyers being in control, price kept rising. All right, it kept rising, actually breaking all of this higher low structure. But look what it did. It broke this higher low, forming this lower high structure. Broke above this lower high structure, but then it came for the retest. On this retest could have been an opportunity for continuation if you didn't catch the first impulse. All right, so never have FOMO. After an impulsive move, more likely you're going to get some type of pullback or retest. All right, so I would look for something similar. Let price give me some type of strong bullish indication. And then if I'm not in on that, I look for some type of correction or pullback or retest and look to continue it up. All right, because this is setting up likely for big buys. Like this is going to be a 300 plus pip move, 300, 400, 500 plus pip move, like. All right, so that's UCAD. All right, so that's all the pairs. Plenty of setting up. So just be on the watch. If you're in the paid private Discord, I will keep you up to date. If I see any signals and everything, I will make sure I send it out. If you're not a part of our private community, you can check out the fxwave.com. That's the FX Forex FXwave.com to check out what we have to offer. You also can follow us on socials at the FX Wave. All right, and we'll be sure to help you out. See you all in the next one.